Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, everybody else to the UKEL Spring Promotion Tournament. I am Darksel, joining me is Rel, and we have some interesting series ahead of us today. The first series is Resolve Academy versus Mythos, and Rel, Resolve Academy, obviously it comes from one of our most storied organizations, one that swept through the UKEL on their way up towards the top. Do you think that this organization can bring something else with the Academy roster coming to our league? If they do manage to make it, they still have to win this best of three.
Oh, definitely. I feel like Resolve are the type of team that can always just find these players. They like to have people they know they can work with. They don't take people and take a gamble. They'll give them a thorough trial. They'll make sure that the team mesh well together. They always check their infrastructure, and it's something I've really praised with Resolve in the past. So I feel like they're definitely a team that can pump out more players like this. But Mythos is a team that have always struggled to find their footing. They always end up in the middle of the pack, and this time they just was that bit unlucky because there was three teams on the exact same score, and they were just that one unlucky this time round, and they do have a tough opponent today.
It is a very tough opponent ahead of them today, and just to explain how our promotion tournament is going to be working, it is a best of three format, so it will be Mythos versus Resolve Academy as our first series of the day. So whoever wins this will automatically promote to the UKEL, so they don't have to play anymore in the promotion tournament. Later on, we'll have Munster Rugby Gaming versus X7 Esports in another best of three. Whoever wins that also promotes, and then tomorrow we'll have a best of three between the two losers of Series 1 and Series 2 of today, and whoever wins that will also promote to the UKEL for that third and final spot. Whoever loses that final best of three will not promote and will not be able to go to the UKEL, at least this time around. Maybe next time around they'll be able to make it, if they do manage to make it to the promotion tournament in summer. So that is how we will be playing out the rest of today, and Resolve, their main roster is looking good, and as you said, it's a really, really strong organization in terms of infrastructure that they have put together. But Mythos, they've been in our league for quite a while, almost since the start, and they do have some good infrastructure put down, and they do look good in some circumstances. But is it good enough to fight what can be a very strong academy roster from Resolve?
And that's the main question for today. Is Mythos trying to find their footing, trying to find their way, because when they started off early in the season, they actually looked like a strong contender. They looked like a different team. And it was interesting for me because I came in quite fresh to this, seeing Mythos actually dominate two of their games back to back. And I was like, okay, this team could actually be somewhat decent. I don't know much about them. And then just seeing them after that point, they just dropped 4 games in a row, I think. So it's just really, really unfortunate. They looked really strong at the beginning, but then just fell flat a little bit later. Just going to have to see what strategies they're going to bring into Resolve, because this is a different Resolve team, like you have mentioned. And this is a team what's still fairly fresh.
Yeah, very, very fresh, I would have to say, because they haven't been tested yet. Their metal hasn't been proven. But then on the other side, Mythos, you need to try and bring something kind of out of left field. This is a best of three. You can come into this with a lot of different strategies, a lot of new, maybe cheese strategies that you might be able to come up with. We won't have something quite like the funnel strat. I think that's the most innovative strategy I've ever seen in League of Legends, and everyone hated it so much. It's not that fun to be watching until it starts to pop off. But we are playing on the live patch. It is patch 11.7, so there have been a few rel nerfs coming through, some for Hecarim, some for Thresh and Udyr as well. So maybe the priority will be lowered down on some of those picks, especially when the support for Resolve Academy does love to pick Rel. Do you think that this Rel nerf will lower her down in that priority pool, or is she still one of those top tier picks?
Oh, she is not touched at all. You will see her still in most games because that stun duration being changed does absolutely nothing. It's mainly the knock-up into the stun. It's just a combination of so much CC on top of each other, so it really does not matter. She's still going to be one of the premier picks. And even the fresh nerf is still a baby nerf as well to his Lantern. It's really not going to affect him. So in terms of nerfs in this patch, not really any affect any of the important champions. So not going to see too many shifts about that. Yorick did get a pretty hefty buff. that's an interesting one. Do I think we'll see Yorick today? Probably not. But he is slowly making his way back up, but there's still just way better picks. And similar to Hecarim, Hecarim's still going to be around. He's still going to be fine despite the nerf.
Yeah, a lot of our top players do have kind of crazy picks that they'll have in their back pocket just in case it is the perfect time to lock it in. We have seen in our league a couple of the Yoriks in the past, but as you said, not really something that we see a lot of people picking up because there are just better picks in the top lane. If you want to go split push, Gnar is also available. He could be playing team fight or objective control with the Mordekaiser, etc, etc. So you don't really see the Yorick be picked up too often unless it's kind of that niche scenario, in which case that Yorick will be doing quite well. And that would be kind of maybe into a sort of a tank. We've seen Sion rise in priority as well, meaning that Darius also rises in priority. So, you know, it is something that we need to be keeping our eye out for on patch 11.7. But what would you like to see from both these teams? It is a fresh slate for both of them, as Mythos is looking to stay in our league and Resolve Academy are looking to promote in.
So the main bar, I just want to see what side both teams are going to play to. I want to see what is their main strength. Are they going to play top side, bot side, mid? For me, Mythos, I was very confused of where the strong side was to start with. I looked towards the top when they had extra cheeky because he pulled up the cheesy Darius and just kind of slapped everyone. And then they changed around their top. I do believe they did. And then they started playing more towards mid and just actually couldn't get the wins in the end. Whereas this Resolve roster, they look like they have multiple threats.
Yeah, the Resolve roster is really quite strong, but that's what we would expect of the Resolve organization, to pick these strong laners that the jungler can be playing around. And extra cheeky, I think, are they? I'm actually not sure. I've looked at their Gamepedia, and it's a little bit confusing to do with the kind of their roster swaps and all that. But we'll see once we get into the game. I wasn't updated before coming on broadcast as to who will be playing on their roster today. But they need to have a strong top side. Definitely need a strong top side if you're playing a Obelisk.
Yeah, that's for sure. And with top lane meta right now, it's quite mixed. Like, there's a mixture of bruisers and tanks. You have the likes of Urgot Shen, Sion, who are still really, really good. But then meanwhile, Jax is rising up. Camille's still very strong. Riven is really, really strong right now. And so is the Darius, of course. So it's quite a mixture of different picks you can play in the top lane. And you can really, really exploit some certain picks with them.
Well, we are into Champion Select for our first game of this best of 3. Udyr and Tristana already taken off the board from Resolve Academy and Mythos Peace. We're just waiting to see what the next picks will be coming through on the sort of bands, and still targeting the jungle, taking that away, that Olaf.
So Triss did receive a small nerf recently, base AD kind of getting lowered, but it's more just a slap on the wrist because she's still that flexible pick of being able to throw into multiple lanes. Again, none of these bans are really surprising. It's still really, really basic. Udyr is still really strong. Don't want to play against him. Seraphine still is nuts. Played on multiple roles as well. Also that flex. I still think we're probably going to see the Hecarim if it's not banned.
Well, so far Hecarim is left up and available. The Jinx taken away from the side of Resolve Academy. One more ban left to come through, and it's the Nocturne.
We did see Nocturne rise in popularity with the Stridebreaker build as well. Stridebreaker into Sterak's, quite a tanky but also very annoying build because you get to stay on top of people and it makes them hard for them to dodge your fear at any point in the game. So maybe they've been practicing some Nocturne, maybe they don't want to play against it. There's also the flexible option of Nocturne mid, which is a spicy one, but nonetheless, no Nocturne, we get the Gragas.
Yeah, we get the Gragas instead. A little bit of flexibility in that pick as well. It can go top, jungle, or support. So it's still not showing too much on the side of Mythos just yet. We'll have to wait and see where that heavy drinker will be going. And we have the Hover of the Karma, but it looks like it will be the Hecarim that gets locked in for Resolve Academy.
Yeah, not really a surprise. I was kind of surprised with the Gragas first pick. Obviously, it's a flex. just a little bit worrying considering, like, I think there's just better picks on the table already. And just going to lose a Hecarim to that is an interesting decision.
And that Amumu will be a Karma, so that expecting that to be in the hands of FGG in the support role, but can flex to the mid lane if they want to go for a more AP supportive mid lane pick. And we'll just wait a few more seconds for the next lock-in to come through. Just show a little bit more, see where this Gragas potentially is going. It looks like it's got to be the Kindred locked in for the side of Mythos, showing that Gragas most likely in the top lane.
Most likely, but there's also that flexibility of support. Not seen as much as it used to be, but still is on the table. Hecarim Karma, very, very deadly combo, by the way, has been played a fair bit just in general as a duo. And obviously that Karma has that flexibility to go into 3 roles, top, mid, and support. So really a lot of flexibility on the table there, and they're still not going to reveal much by their last pick it.
Yeah, don't worry to be showing too much. Keeping the cards close to their chest with that mid lane Orianna locked in from Mythos. It is a good blind pickable mid laner, so not really too fussed about playing into the Karma if that is what is locked in for Resolve Academy's mid lane. But they will lock in the Gnar, expecting that to be into the Gragas.
Yeah, they're expecting that to be into the Gragas. I like the Gnar pick here. Kind of rounds out already with what they want to do. They want to dive quite well. Already having Gnar, Hecarim as a combo, so they want to eliminate AD carry options here. Both teams still haven't picked AD carry, so we're probably going to see a lot of ADC bans and maybe even a support ban in there.
Yep, already coming out with the ADC bans with the Kai'Sa and the Caitlyn taken off the board. That will whittle down the AD carry pool just a little bit. Still have Ashe, still have a couple of the other great AD carries available on the board. Something like the Kalista that we haven't seen in a while, or the Kog'Maw still up and available. But there is the Rel. We're kind of expecting that on the side of Mythos, since FGG loves to play this pick in solo queue. So we'll be taking that support off the board.
Yeah, Resolve actually banning away their Rel in a way, because they were the ones most expected to have it. They're showing they don't want to play this game, probably going to lean towards that Karma in the bot lane. Or there's also the scary option of a Xayah or Rakan. As a duo, they're still very, very good, and Xayah's rose up in popularity quite a lot recently. And looking at the ADCs, what a band, she's kind of one of the premier ones left.
You definitely wasn't really expecting the Kalista or the Varus to be locked in, but the Kog'Maw was a real possibility. But of course, Aphelios and Xayah, two very, very strong AD carries, and they lock in the Thresh for the support role there, meaning that Thresh Aphelios is a potent bot lane, but you're playing into Xayah and Nautilus, that is just as potent.
Yeah, it's just as potent. There's a lot of dive, there's a lot of backup for Resolve's comp in general. Xayah's more or less just going to have to self-peel, which is the beauty of picking Xayah, so it's completely fine with their comp. They just have a really well-rounded dive comp, which is quite scary to deal with. You have the Karma speed boost as well, so everyone can reposition in team fights. I really like Resolve's draft here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Mythos play around that Karma. Yeah, I have all that protection for the Xayah as well. And Xayah with the self-peel from the ultimate will allow her just to get out of jail free, as it were, if you try and get onto her. Then you have the Nautilus with all that CC that he can provide throughout a team fight to peel for the Xayah to make sure that she can stay alive, get the damage down. And if she goes the Kraken Slayer build, just starts to pump out all that extra damage, then just bring back the blades, bring back the feathers to pump out even more damage. But who would you give this first game to in terms of draft? Because both these drafts look quite strong.
I still lean towards Resolve, but Mythos have brought something spicy out with the Kindred, of course. So they definitely had a plan in mind, and more or less looked like they was trying to bait the Hecarim pick with that. So I'm intrigued to see how Mythos are going to play this game. And also, the support matchup is quite an interesting one. I've seen most of the time Thresh come out on top on this one, although it's considered quite a 50-50 matchup. And I know a lot of people will still favour the Thresh into the Nautilus, so maybe they pick Nautilus mainly for the comp. It's still quite a deadly combo, like you mentioned, being able to set up the Xayah quite well. But in terms of lane pressure, I feel like Thresh is going to be able to control a little bit more and just counter-engage if he wants to.
Yeah, it's kind of it can be kind of coin flip, especially when Nautilus's hook is a bit faster in animation to actually throw out. But then you have all of that extra ability from the Thresh. He has the Flay to knock you back to cancel your hook. He has the Thresh Express, the Lantern, of course, to try and bring in someone from the side. So if the jungler wants to pay attention to the bottom side, it can be even easier to try and look for a way in. So I'll be keeping my eye on FGG and blundering in that bottom side. See how they play the lane, see how they play the pressure game. And if Dunlosi or Stonecooker actually decide to pay attention to the bottom side, we see a lot of junglers pay attention to the mid lane. Mid lane, super, super important. But I saw a tweet there the other day where some Grandmaster or Challenger player, I forget who, said it's not down to the mid lane anymore. It's down to the support, it's down to the top lane. That is just all. If you don't have a good support, if you don't have a good top laner, that's it. That's easy GG.
It's probably been one of the better metas for top lane in recent time as well. So if there's any time for any top laner to shine, it's pretty much now, because what I mentioned earlier, it's quite a mixed pool. You have the mix of bruisers and tanks. It's quite varied. It's no longer just leaning towards one side like, okay, it's pure bruiser meta, okay, it's pure tank meta. You have the choice to go down the middle, and you have a choice to show how good you can actually be. And we have a Gragas and Gnar matchup, so it's quite a, I want to say stale, because we've seen this one a lot, so it's nothing really new. Obviously, I feel like Gnar has the more carry potential, but the Gragas can really counter anyone trying to jump in his own Kindred ult. So if someone's trying to defend themselves, trying to not die while Kindred's dueling them, the Gragas can really help out with that. And even the Aphelios has a lot of AoE to deal with in this game as well.
Yeah, and you have the Orianna and Thresh that can also play around to the Kindred ult as well, because you have the Shockwave, can pull someone out of the Lamb's Respite, and then of course you have the Flay, you have the Hook from the Thresh to provide all of that displacement if you're playing around the Lamb's Respite. But then on the other side, you have so much engage, so much tank shredding from the Gnar, that it just feels like as if both these teams have the tools to counter each other. But how are you going to play around them? That is the big question. It feels like it might be easier to execute for Resolve.
And that's why I lean to Resolve's comp, because I feel like positioning as Aphelios in this game is going to be so hard. I feel like Ezreal would fit their comp just better, because you're relying on the Kindred for the more consistent DPS here. So you just want something safer. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, they just wanted the Aphelios for more consistent damage, so like the Aphelios into the Xayah matchup. I know a few people do. I just feel like the Ezreal would have been a little bit more consistent with their comp and where they wanted to go with this, because in terms of protection for Aphelios, you're mainly relying on Thresh. So it's really not a lot when you look at how many dive options they have on Resolve.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult one, I think, for the Mythos bot lane to try and play out. But if they do it, if they actually manage to play it out well positioned correctly and actually be able to put down the damage and not die, that's kind of the main thing for the Aphelios. If you can get that Moonlight Vigil down, then it can do so much damage. It's still that 200 years, you know, where you can get so much damage put down in a team fight. And especially when you have Manrabo to worry about on this Orianna, you have Dunlosi not going to be dealing out small amounts of damage on this Kindred. Then it might not just be the Aphelios that you have to worry about. It might not just be him that you have to get onto.
Yes, Dunlosi is what I'm going to be putting most of my attention on this game, because he's been a player who has made a lot to happen for his team in situations where it looked like nothing was going to happen. It looked like a troll play or something, and then all of a sudden, Dunlosi comes out with a double or triple kill, and it starts snowballing their ways of playing. I feel like he is one of the strongest points of their team, so there's a lot of pressure on him with his Kindred pick in this game.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I've been casting Dunlosi for quite a while, and he is always the mainstay for his teams. He is always the one that is making the plays. And he's on Kindred. He can go for these invades. He can take away the jungle camps from Stonecooker there. Put him behind it. Put himself ahead. Get these marks, and then he can start pumping out so much damage. And when you're not playing an AP really carry-oriented mid laner in terms of the karma, you don't have that damage source. You just have that kind of that support, that protection to try and support your Xayah. It might be enough into Dunlosi's Kindred.
Yeah, this mid lane matchup's more of just like a push-shove matchup. It's just like, okay, I want to get pressured. No, I want to get pressured. It's like they're both just trying to shove each other backwards and forwards. The Karma's going to have the advantage early. Obviously, having the Mantra Flare really, really early. Having it all level 1 really, really helps with that early push, getting that pressure for them Scuttle Crabs. And that's going to be a very main state towards the early game. Kindred wants to get the early stack, wants to start get rolling. As soon as they get the 4 stacks, getting that increased range. Really, really important to keep an eye on the stacks this game and want to see if Kindred can maintain any control.
We'll have to keep our eye on that jungle matchup as it progresses. Sorry about the drilling, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know that my neighbors were going to be doing that this morning. They never said. And hopefully you won't be able to hear it too much, and hopefully they'll keep it down. Because I didn't know before I came on broadcast. It was 2 minutes before broadcast, so I couldn't ask them, unfortunately. But as we get back to the game of League of Legends at hand, I'm completely thrown by the drilling. So how do you expect this jungle matchup to be going? Because Hecarim, he is known for being amazing in the early game. That is his time to shine. That is when you start to get the snowball rolling for him. But then the Kindred needs to be getting snowball going in the early game as well. Needs to be getting these marks.
So if Hecarim doesn't have his charge up, he's quite easy to kite as Kindred. But obviously the Hecarim should be leaning towards Phase Rush anyway. So if he gets close enough for Phase Rush, he'll be able to stick on top of Kindred, especially early game. So it's in terms of where they meet on the map. So, for example, if they meet towards the top side, and whoever's top rotates first is really going to deter how the jungle matchup is going to end up.
And who do you think that will be able to actually make that rotation first? It's all about how they play the wave state.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a really hard one, because they both have really good push in top lane. Not able to push quite well early with his Boomerang, and Gragas obviously with his Cask. Both of them really able to get pressure whenever they want to at some point. More so, Gragas level 3 is quite a hefty push as well. Quite a big power spike for him, so it's one that Gnar has to be a little bit scared of if it gets towards that time being. It will be towards the 3-minute mark when they'll both be looking towards the top side, because Kindred should be starting red buff here. So she'll meet with red buff towards that top side, try to get there as early as possible. Ideally, you want the Gragas.
Just a little bit of music there. I don't know if it went out on stream, but it was interesting. Well, we are on to the rift for our first game of this best of 3. It is Mythos versus Resolve Academy. There's a line of scrimmage coming out for both these teams as they try and get some early vision down, get a little bit of information in this early part of the game. Might be able to inform Dunlosi of how to play this Kindred.
Yes, these standard lines of scrimmage. Everyone just already in their spots. This is always nice to see. Love seeing this early. I want to see if Kindred is going to try get an early ward down and get sweeper, but looks like we're not going to get any shenanigans yet. Just one ward down in the river.
Yeah, just to spot out if Dunlosi wants to go for this invade here. We'll just get the recall off. Get that sweeper with a little bit of point vision in the river, so nothing too unusual in this first minute or so of the game as Stonecook will make his way down towards his top buff.
Yeah, so interesting enough, we have Kindred starting blue buff here, so she will be trying to put attention towards mid/bot this game, and also Hecarim starting red buff, so they're both going to be heading towards that lower side of the map. Whether or not they read the Hecarim, but I would have liked the Kindred starting red, but I see where they're trying to throw the pressure. This bot lane matchup can really determine how this game's going to end up. So whoever gets the first kill in that bot lane can really choose the pacing of this game.
Yeah, really just cracks the matchup open, and both these AD carries have opted in for the exhaust, so really wanting to try and counter each other there. It also counters Dunlosi to a certain extent for the side of Maiku. I apologize if I'm butchering that name. Rel and I couldn't agree on how to actually pronounce it coming on broadcast. So I'm just gonna go for Maiku and hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. You can inform me as the hook does land. And Maiku, as I pronounce his name, will be going down here. Ticking of the Ignite, as that's a flash away from the Thresh. So well played here. First blood to Mythos. They're coming out swinging.
And there's that Thresh asserting his dominance already very early in this matchup, just walking past the wave, saying you have to be more respectful. And Xayah dies with Flash already up. So Xayah just gets completely punished in this lane. And I talked about this bot lane being able to determine how this game's going to play out. That's a very good way to start the game.
It definitely is. Just was not expecting all of that damage at the level 2 power spike. Stone Cooker being aggressed on by Dunlosi here. In comes FGG from the side. Just gonna play that gatekeeper. You stay away from my blue buff, he says. You already have your own. Blunderer is coming over as well. Looking for it to continue this invade. Looks like they'll just back away.
Yeah, too little too late there. They're collapsing on Karma. The Karma looks like they could be out of position, but they're so much more healthier than Orianna here.
The tether just gives you so much healing with the mantra empowerment. It's just so difficult for Manrabo to deal with in this early stage. Level 4 to level 4, just peeked over by Otter. He has a little bit of a CS advantage, but when he has little to no mana, little to no HP as compared to Otter, it can be difficult to play the wave state and can be difficult to just play the poke game as well. And Dunlosi is onto the top crab.
Yeah, meanwhile, this is devastating for Dunlosi. Look, he is like 16 CS to Hecarim's 29, and Hecarim's in the bot lane.
He ghosts, he's exhausted, he gets the kickback, Aphrodis is going to try and get away. Here then comes the flash with the hook, FGG looking for the play, but in comes the teleport now as the counter hook lands, and Stone Cooker, he just goes down. Blundering picks up his second kill of the game, it's onto the Thresh, but you get a nice injection of gold onto Mythos.
Yeah, the TP's coming through, but Orianna was there first to actually help secure that second kill. Mythos really are running away with momentum to start off this game.
And we said coming into this, RSVA Resolve Academy, they are a storied stalwart of an organization. I say that, in goes the aggression once again, and Maiko, he picks up his first kill of the game, but FGG, he'll be traded back. It's a 1-for-1 at the bottom side, where we're saying Mythos is starting to do so well, but they still get the trade.
Yeah, 1-for-1 in the end at the bot line. Pretty sure you're going to be happy with that considering the state of the game. So, yeah. Xayah opting towards the Essence Reaver first item. I like this. I generally think this is the best way to build Xayah right now. It's just way more consistent in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it's a very consistent build. It gives you a lot of what you're looking for a Xayah, and it's good to get that early power spike for the Sheen as well. You're sitting in lane, you have a decent amount of damage provided by it, you have a nice amount of mana too, so you're not too unhappy with how the game is going at this point. You're pretty even on CS and pretty even on gold with Avengus there, so Dunlosi is towards his bottom side, looking for to influence the matchup once again. Shouldn't be spotted out by any ward here if he goes into this this early brush. But there's that ward in the middle brush there, so we'll be spotted out if he pushes any further forward.
Really trying to snowball this bot lane. You can see that all the attention is towards this side of the map. Top lane's just left to an island, and he is going to be spotted out because he's just sitting on that ward, so they're going to be sitting safely. Not really an issue.
No issue whatsoever. Puts a control ward down in the upper brush. Doesn't spot out that he was spotted, but with the way that they're positioned in the lane, have to feel that there is vision coverage there anyway. Stone Cooker towards his bottom side, waiting for the crab. He will manage to pick that up himself as Otter rotates down to try and help him out with it.
Yeah, Hecarim is starting to get quite a big lead in this jungle matchup. 45 CS to 28, so he's really just trying to farm his way into the game and just working towards that level 6 before he wants to be a little bit more proactive in this game.
And that was a mark taken up by Stone Cooker as well, so that is denied away from Dunlosi. If we have a check-in on the mark levels there, I wouldn't say it's very much of a thing. Yeah, it's just one mark so far from Dunlosi, so as the game goes on, as the game progresses, if he can't start to stack up to that 4th stack mark, to get the first level of his passive, and then 3 from then on in. It's just going to get harder and harder for Dunlacy to try and get back into the game, or to get into the game in the first place, one should say.
Yeah, for sure. Hecarim really just trying to snowball his lead. Also, Gragas is opting towards the AP Gragas. So we have that to really consider this game. It's going to be the Everfrost Gragas, more than likely. So extra bit of CC in his kit. Going to have that root if he hits in the center. Really going to help set up any kills here. But in terms of frontline, then you're kind of limited with Gragas going Everfrost here.
Yeah, it's not really the typical build that we see of the top lane Gragas. Usually you opt in for towards full tank so that you can be that beefy front line. You can just pop in with the belly bop, you can knock them back with the cask, and be that playmaker that your team really usually needs if you're opting in for a Gragas top lane. And the AP will provide a certain decent amount of damage, but as you said, won't have that front line. It'll be all on Dunlacy, really, and blundering to be that front line, to be that engaged, to be that playmaker that you want and need of your team.
But look at that instant call from Mythos. As soon as they see Hecarim towards that top side, playing with that ward, just getting rid of that, they instantly pull the trigger on the dragon and say, you know what, we want this one. But it's an early dragon. It can be left to go. Especially the first 2 dragons don't really mean as much. So giving that up doesn't mean everything, especially when you've got the Herald.
Camping in the brush, they will get onto Dunlacy, and Maiku picks up his 2nd kill of the game. That's what you get for invading Dunlacy. Can't be in the enemy jungle.
That's a sad time for Dunlacy. Try to just take away some stuff from Hecarim, but ends up being caught with his pants down. And Hecarim gets the kill, or he doesn't get the kill, sorry, Xayah gets the kill. Helps shut down that Kindred, and Hecarim still has that Rift Herald to be used somewhere else on the map.
Can influence one of these matchups once again. Where would you like to see him put this Rift Herald? It is pre-14 minutes, so there are still some tower plates left to be gotten, and it looks like he's got to opt in for the bottom lane.
Yeah, 100%. You have to put this bot lane. There's no other viable scenario here, because you have Moonstone Karma, more than likely, because you do have the Band of Glass Mirror. And pretty much what we said from the get-go, bot lane's gonna determine.
Solo kill!
Yeah, Madison Beer Fan getting soloed, taken down by that Gragas, and
I'm just so
AP
surprised.
Gragas coming through. I'm surprised too. Good play.
It's not how we expected the matchup to be going. It is something that we should have seen is possible, but I wasn't expecting it this early. You only have a Lost Chapter and a Doran's Ring.
So really,
it must have been just such over-positioning from Madison Beer Fan.
So I've actually casted a fair few games with Madison Beer Fan recently, and it honestly seems like they do get caught out a fair bit in laning. They play really well in terms of team fights, but in laning phase, they've really been punished, and they actually get caught here in the top side and pretty much exploited by this Gragas pick.
And if you can't keep at range with the boomerang toss, if you can't play around your W passive as well, it's just something that can be exploited so easily by a good Gragas player. But I just wasn't expecting it this early, and they've opted in for the lane swap. Madison Beer Fan just doesn't want any of its Sheeta's Gragas anymore. Maiku will be left to his own devices up there, has the ultimate to dissuade any engage coming in from its Sheeta, and Dunlacy gets forced away from his own jungle at this 11-minute mark when he should be reaching that early power.
And look at this, just wherever this bot lane goes, the Hecarim is following, and that's just how it should be.
Gotta play around what some would call your best players in Maiku and FGG, a challenger level support. Already showing his stuff at this early stage of the game. 0, 1, and 2. 100% kill participation so far.
Featherstorm was forced to be used there by the Gragas, so Gragas really forced an issue with Xayah a little bit with the positioning. So Xayah, no ultimate here, but still does have both summoners.
And that's a saving grace for Maiku. It's one of the reasons why they threw him up into the top side. It's just like, Nara doesn't have his flash, he only has his hop, skip, jump. We have Maiku with his ultimate. We have flash, we have exhaust. If he gets in trouble, we can just use that to try and get out. No big deal, we just go back to the bottom lane, just push out the waves, just continue to farm up. It is even in CS with Affin just there, so it's not too bad. You're a little bit ahead because of the kills, so that's why there's that 150 gold bounty for Maiku on his head there. But nothing too bad to be said about the bot lane so far. It's going quite well as that Moonstone gets finally finished off by Otter, so it's going to be a disgusting amount of healing coming out for that Karma, especially with the Mantra empowerment.
Yeah, we have the Moonstone completed. We've got Everfrost, double Everfrost completed, sorry. Kraken Slayer, and on the opposite side we have the Chem Tank and the SS3 fully completed. Both teams are looking to actually contest this dragon, setting on vision around this early. It is a mountain dragon, it is only the second dragon, so it's not going to be the sole dragon. So, doesn't mean too much if they lose it, so I think at this point Mythos are just going to concede their position.
Yeah, looks like they're just going to give it up. Dunlucy will pick up this red buff.
Ooh.
Instead, as the hook lands on FGG, he's caught out. He has the flash, will use it, gets over the box, just about getting away so far with his life, but burning down, ticking. One more auto attack will finish him off as Dunlucy picks up the kill. It comes the teleport now as it's a cluster of abilities being thrown out as the Gnar comes through. The exhaust goes down, and that is a kill over to the side of Resolve Academy. The double kill for the Hecarim now as the shutdown comes through onto the Xayah. Gonna try and get away as the hook lands once again from blundering, looking for it to re-engage, but it's Sheeta, cannot quite find it as the slow goes down onto Otter. He was trying to heal, he has to flash away, he gets away with his life as Monrabo is now the target of Madison Beer Fan. He doesn't have the Mega Gnar, so he has to try and get away here, and it's a kill for a kill. So I think it's 2 kills for 2 kills so far in the fight as everyone backs down.
Yeah, 2 for 2 here. Manrobo's positioning in this fight was pretty much perfect, catching out the Nautilus to even start this fight off, when we pretty much thought they was just going to be backing away, because it looked like they had no way in, and it was like, you know what, let's commit on this. And the fresh hook landed hook after hook after hook, but unfortunately they still don't get the positioning to be able to walk in, because they're still mostly blind here.
They really are, and you can't just walk in and face tank a Mega Gnar. Just about to pop that Gnar bar, 1600 health on this Mountain Drake. Dunlucy goes over the wall. He doesn't have his flash available. He might be taken down. The Lamster Spike comes through. The dragon now deleashes as Dunlucy hops over the wall with the dance of arrows. Looking for the smite as the red team manages to pick it up but gives up the Hecarim's life for it. Shutdown gold goes over to your Aphelios. This is great as FGG will also go down. The beautiful flash belly buff from Ishida just makes it so he can't get away. That's 2 kills for the Drake in favor of Mythos.
Well, it's 3 kills in the end, because Nautilus also died there as well, so 3 kills for that dragon. 9 kills to 4 at this point. The gold is still pretty much even in terms across the board, and both teams still have this mid lane tower. Both teams want to crack mid lane towers, but in terms of getting to it, it really hasn't been that easy.
It's definitely not the easiest game for either of these teams to be playing out. Dunlucy starting to reach that power. Has 3 marks in his passive. Will be caught out in the enemy jungle. Uses the Thresh Express to safety. Stone Cooker gonna try and get the ultimate off to get the fear, but he can't manage to get it.
You can see the value of this Thresh coming through in this draft, and this is why I was like so iffy about having Nautilus into Thresh. I feel like the Thresh has just done so much more in this game already. Despite Nautilus trying to set up early plays, it just seems like every play Thresh has made has either led to a kill or led to summoners being used.
And that's what happens when you pair the Aphelios with the Thresh. It's just, you have so much safety and so much playmaking power, and when blundering just keeps landing hook after hook after hook, you just cannot stop this Thresh. This is the secondary Herald now going over to the side of Mythos. Over to the side of Resolve Academy. So that's the second Rift Herald, 2 out of 2. But you need to get something for it, otherwise you're just... It's almost pointless to take it. It's just giving it to Resolve Academy to deny it from Mythos at this point.
I think that's pretty much just it. I think it's just there to just be a denial of objective, because it is a part 14-minute Rift Herald, so it's not as much value. It really doesn't mean as much as it would earlier in the game, but it also can be used to crack this mid lane tower. But Looks like they're not going to get it down just yet. They're just trying to push in this wave as they can, but multiple members arriving now. 5 man in this mid lane. They really want to force this.
Puts down the Rift Herald. This will take out the tower after just gonna try and cull the wave, try and buy a little bit of time, but nothing can be bought when Shelly just gets the bop onto the tower. Just gonna try and stop her from getting a secondary hit onto the secondary tower. We'll manage to do that. Massive Beer Fan clearing away the Gromp, just trying to farm up, trying to get back into this game versus a 3-0. It's Sheeta's Gragas. Now with the Bramble Vest in the back pocket, gonna be so much harder to try and take down. Looks like it's just going for a little bit of AP, just for the utility of the item, and also just for a little bit of extra damage.
Yeah, also Kindred still doesn't actually have tier 2 boots, which is really interesting in this game, because there's so much CC which can just layer the next bit of CC on top of you, so still being on tier 1 boots this late in the game is really, really interesting for this Kindred pick. We thought the carry in this game would be Dunlosy, but at this point, there's so many threats what have been carrying this game. This Gragas has really, really shown its value, which obviously caused me confusion in draft, because I was like, why would you be like hard focusing the first pick Gragas? I thought there was just better picks, but they planned for the Kindred. Kindred's not the real carry here. You have Gragas, you have Manrobo, who's just positioning really, really well this game, and you have Blundering on this Fresh, who's just been setting up play after play, just playing really, really well so far.
And FGG playing aggressively, posturing aggressively in the enemy jungle. Will get a little bit of vision down for himself. Stonecooker waiting in the wings, just looking for an opening, looking for a reason to engage his Blundering. Just gonna face check this, has some vision there. Have Nara towards the bottom side. It's just both these teams looking for an engage, but neither wants to be the one to set their foot on a false step.
Yeah, both teams not trying to force the issue too much. They don't want to get caught out of position. This Orianna is getting really, really strong, so it's something you have to be really scared of at this point. You can't be looking for any trades against it. And you've seen it with the Gnar. You got chunked out just from a little bit of damage there and didn't want anything to do with Orianna.
Now it's 10 seconds until the Ocean Drake spawns. That is an Ocean Soul for this game. Will be great on both of these teams. Especially you want it on the side of Resolve Academy with the Gnar and with the Hecarim. And to a certain extent FGG on this Nautilus too. So gotta be expecting both these teams to play heavily around this objective as it has spawned. Dunlosy looking to engage now. As Mentor and Paracute comes out. Dunlosy now caught out. Gets the Dance of Arrows over the wall. Stonecooker looking for an engage with the Empowered E.
Both teams are just waiting for the first bit of CC to land. That's the whole part of this. They're both just like, okay, we need to land something. Who's going to land it first?
Oh, it lands onto the scuttle, and FGG has to get the flash away as they engage onto the back line. Look at the Hecarim. He just fears no one with that. It is so unfortunate. The Blade Storm comes out, gets knocked back with the cast because Maiku has to try and get away. No one has gone down just yet. The beautiful flash in forward with the belly bop stuns onto 2, but he is so squishy with this AP build. He just gets cut down to Stonecooker. He is the victim of the fight now as FGG goes in just to block, save his junglers alive. Maiku finds another kill in the fight. Dunlosy gonna try and get away. He's on single digits there with his health bar, and it looks like Resolve Academy finds the fight as Ligfer engage again. Manrabo trying to catch out the AD carry. He manages to find it, gets the flash away, goes in with the Dance of Arrows. It is so back and forth here, and in the end it looked good for Resolve Academy, but Mythos take the team fight win. Stonecutter off to the side. He has the smite available, gonna try and steal away as Dunlosy. He is so low on health here. Goes forward with the powered charge, knocks him into the dirt. In comes Ishida, and now the team fight just is not over. They want to still fight around this Drake.
This is so chaotic. It looks like one team's taking the fight, then it's like, nope, let's flip it for no reason. The other team starts taking the fight. Resolve actually should have come out with his dragon, but Gragas is lurking. Gragas is trying to find a steal, but doesn't get it this time around.
Eventually, The Ocean Drake goes over to Resolve Academy. That is their second Drake of the game to pair with the Mountain that they got earlier on. I feel like I'm on a cooking show. It's like, oh, this is the Drake that we prepared earlier on. 3, 3, and 3 now for Maiku on this Saya. He is on form, on point, online, sitting on 2 items with that Gale Force and that Essence Reaver, reaching that power spike that we talked about earlier on. But then on the other side, you have the Aphelios yet to reach his second item power spike. Looking for that Phantom Dancer. One has to assume with the items that he has in his inventory there. Once he has that, we'll start to pump out some damage as well. Oh, went with the Rune and Hurricane. Okay.
Yeah, and you sat here like
that build in a while.
like Dragon. Here's one I made earlier, and then just pull it out. Here you go. The Karma shields were actually huge in that fight as well. And
Massive.
She only had one item.
Yeah.
She didn't have Staff of Flowing Water in that fight. So just consider that for the next fight, because that's going to be so huge. The shields were massive to sustain the team. And to be honest, if they didn't have Karma there for Resolve, they would have lost that fight. Because it was mainly the Karma just sustaining everyone back up, getting them back in there. Unfortunately, they did lose someone, and then it was actually able to turn around with the Hecker and picking off Dunlucy, soloing the Dragon in the end.
And now that you have that Staff of Flowing Water, Otter's shields are going to be massive. The healing will be even stronger. And this is what you get when you opt in for a supportive mid laner. You don't get as much damage as you would have, say, from a Syndra. But you have so much healing, so much more utility from this Karma pick that's what you want. That's what you get. FGG, he's tanky, but he gets caught out. Gets the Blast Plant to safety thanks to the side of Mythos. I think we're the ones who actually hit that Blast Plant there. So FGG gets caught out of position, but doesn't get punished for it.
You see how squishy he is right now as well, because he got absolutely bursted through with his shields despite that. Even having to burn the locket there and still gets bursted really, really low. Orianna is a ticking time bomb. Look at her items, and she's just getting bigger and bigger as the game's going on, because Manrobo has been really, really positioning well. He's been untouchable in team fights, and it's been the main story for Mythos. He's just constantly been in a position where he can put out damage without being punished.
And that's why it's so difficult to actually play around these team fights, and why it's so back and forth, because you have to position correctly to play versus 3 or 4 damaging members from both sides. And that's that's why it's so back and forth. That's why you have to pay attention to all sides of the team fight, and pay attention to your flank as well, because you have a Cheetah that come in from the side, you have the Nard that can come in from the flank. And you're also paying attention to the front line dive coming in from the Hecarim and from the Kindred.
In terms of objectives, we still have 1 minute 40 to the next dragon, which should be spicy if it's anything like the last dragon, because that was the most hectic fight we've seen in a while. Both teams are literally just constantly waiting for that one bit of CC to land, one bit of damage to then just pull the trigger. None of the teams have been really committed in the way of saying, okay, like, we're going in straight away right now. They've more just been like, okay, we wait for a hook, we wait for Orianna Ball, we wait for just Mega Gnar. Both teams are just trying to wait on the cooldown, trying to wait on any bit of CC delayer.
And there's so much CC from both sides that they can layer, and it's all about ease of execution at this point. If you land a hook from either support, you can just layer the CC. You have the Unstoppable Onslaught from Stone Cooker. You have the Mega Gnar from Madison Beer Fan. But then on the other side, you have the Belly Bop. You have the Cask from Ishida. You have the Ultimate from Manrabo. You have the Gravitum coming out from Aphrodis as well. So it can be so damning, all of this CC chain from both these sides. In 30 seconds until the next Drake, we're going to have a massive team fight around that objective.
Look at that troll overfrost, just stopping that man's recall, just saying, no, I see you, you can't recall here. Not happening around here. Xayah 3 items right now as well, and also Gnar hitting quite a big power spike with picking up Sterix there, so yeah. Some big items coming through for this next dragon. 15 seconds till it spawns, and both teams are kind of blind here. There's not much vision down here. Both teams are a little bit late towards this dragon, but they're definitely going to contest this one. If there's anything like the last one, it is all to play for.
Resolve Academy should win this oncoming team fight. They have a couple of items up over the side of Mythos. In comes the unstoppable onslaught as Blundering is already taken down. In comes the Amateur Spite. Now it's Dunlosey's trying to survive in the team fight. Feather Call comes out. The Blade Caller will be pulling it back onto Ishida, just trying to defend the AD carry. Picks off the top lane from the side of Mythos, and Mythos has to back away from the objective. Dunlosey managed to get away with his life, but they lost 2 members.
Yeah, losing 2 members there just mean that they're going to take this dragon pretty much for free and also start to work on that gold lead. Nearly 2k up now, so just slowly trying to build a lead in their favor. And it was a fairly consistent fight for their part. They thought they caught Hecarim, but you don't catch Hecarim with a Karma about. It's not that easy, unfortunately.
And when you are down by an item apiece for your top laner, for your jungler, for your AD carry, you cannot be taking these team fights. You just look at the item difference. It's a difference of an Infinity Edge in the AD carries at least, and then you didn't have the Thornmail finish off for Ishida for that fight as well, and they were the 2 members that went down.
Exactly that. And so far, really, I haven't seen too much value from this Kindred yet. I really have been a little bit disappointed with Dunlosey being one of the main star players on this team. He really hasn't found his way with his Kindred, I would say, because despite trying to get on his targets, he's really not able to follow up. He's not got the damage just yet. He will scale decently, of course. There's still that option as well. But he really has been shut down this game so far.
And Brightside has reached 4 marks, 4 stacks of that passive, so that is the first level of the Kindred passive reached. You have that extra attack range, attack damage, so not all is lost for Dunlosey's Kindred. Reached that 2-item power spike as well with the Gale Force and the PD. As FGG has caught out the Gragas, the Fat Man is cut down in his prime. In the top lane, Blundering just has to watch on as his top laner dies, but he'll rotate back over towards the mid lane. Massive Beer Fan has to flash away from Manrabo. Manrabo just trying to get the solo kill, doesn't burn his own flash, he knows that he gets away.
Yeah, when you're saying about top lane dying, hold on a second, Thresh is gonna die.
Yeah, Thresh. You can't flay him if he's unstoppable, buddy.
The poor man just gets absolutely run down by the pony. There's no escape there. And they're just going to turn all their attention towards the Baron now because the strongest member of Mythos was bot lane. There are TPing coming through in the top side, trying to ride for this Baron, but can they find anything?
Manrabo doesn't have his ultimate available. The Shockwave is not off cooldown. In comes the teleport now from Ishida. They're looking to contest this. Might be able to do it. Stone Cooker. He's down to half health. He has to try and get over the wall, but he has no ultimate available. That's a flash forward. Maiku looking to try and find the damage, but the Baron is helping them out. The shutdown goes over to the Orianna. Stone Cooker, he's so low on health here. He's trying to find the damage in the backline. He smites down Dunlosey. He's taken out of the equation. It looks so good for Mythos, but finally RSVA find the team fight win 4-for-1. They get the Baron.
Karma's a disgusting champion, man. Karma is a disgusting champion. You can't change my mind. The shields were absolutely huge there in turning around that team fight. That Kindred alone had huge value, and I thought that might have been the turning point for Mythos. The Kindred keeping so many of them alive, including Robbo, able to actually pick up Maiku quite early in that fight. It looked like it was going away with Mythos, but Resolve turn it around. They have the shields, they have the sustain, and they just play to wait for that Mega Gnar.
And now you have a 4th item for your AD carry. Mike, you sitting on that Lord Dominic's regards as well. Next team fight, Lord Dominic will really send his regards to Mythos as they send them to the grave. A 3rd item finished off for Otter now. Has that Zanya's Hourglass to keep him alive in these team fights, just to buy a little bit of space, a little bit of time if he gets, if things start to go a little bit hairy. And you have that 3rd item finished off by Stone Cooker as well. So it's looking a bit dire, a little bit for the side of Mythos. Yes, it's 13 kills to 15, but that doesn't spell the depth of this game. You are 5,500 gold behind, 3 towers behind, and 2 dragons behind. And Baron Buff now going to push in the bottom lane.
And despite nearly having a Flame Horizon in the mid lane, it doesn't mean enough, unfortunately. But Robbo is at a huge power spike with getting that Rabadon say. He does have some anti-healing in his kit as well with the Oblivion Orb. So they do have the items to make things happen. They just need to be a little bit more coordinated because the sustain of the Karma has just been way too much.
Karma is in the top side. If you're going to take a team fight, it would be now a 5v4. Otter has the teleport available, so after that 4 seconds, we'll have the Karma in the fight. 12 seconds now until the Drake spawns. It will be Ocean Soul for Resolve Academy if they manage to get it. Otter, push it with this Baron wave in the top side. Have to respond to this eventually.
Yeah, you're going to have to before you lose your tower, but it looks like they're just trying to force the issue at this dragon, trying to force their way in, but they're just going to slowly be taking the base. There is a TP coming through though.
They lost their tower though. They gave up a tower for potentially taking an Ocean Drake, but the Ocean Soul goes over to Resolve Academy. They'll take the team fight as well. Not even close, baby, as the Lambda Spike goes down. Delosi hops over the wall. The Quadra kill! The Quadra kill! Give him the Penta! It gets stolen away! The sad B from the side of RSVA, as that will be the end to the first game, denying the Penta kill from MyQ. They will end the game in an emphatic fashion. Looking so good in this first game. It looked so decent from Mythos at the start, but they'll come out swinging and take first game.
Man, that would have been a statement to send getting a pentakill in your first game here, but unfortunately gets absolutely yoinked away from him. But Resolve Academy looked fairly clean. Some blunders in the early game, but they weren't punished enough for it. That's the point. They never really fell behind on gold too much that they could never crawl back into the game, and it just got to a point where Karma just said, hello, I am supportive Karma with Moonstaff. What are you going to do about it? And the answer was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hecarim just got sustained from 0 to 100, back to where he wants to be, and it just got to a point they could never get through the front line.
Like, hi, I have my Ultimate Power Shield that just shields buffs everyone, and you can just move at a mile a minute. And it also buffs the Hecarim because of his passive. How are you doing? It was just such a difficult thing to try and play out. And do you reckon that we should have seen a Serpent's Fang from Dunlosi and the Adhikari as well, because of the shielding from the Karma?
Potentially, but at the same point, I just feel like the Kindred just wasn't enough here. I felt like the idea was there, and the idea to counter the Hecarim was there, but it just didn't provide the counter what we expected. It didn't provide just any of the damage, really. It had one really good ult the entire game near the Baron, but it just wasn't enough. I just feel like there's better picks you could have picked it. There's more Premier junglers what you could be playing right now. I just don't think Kindred's one of them. I
think that both the idea of the Kindred, but also the fact that it's an AD jungler was good. But the fact that, as you said, there are other junglers that you can pick that are better and still be AD. You can pick things like the Lee Sin. That's the first one that comes to mind in terms of AD, early ganking jungler that is playmaking. That also, it's AD so that you can play around your AP mid laner, so you diversify that damage portfolio, which is kind of what a lot of teams like to do.
Well, there's a very OP AD jungler right now.
You're gonna say something that's super weird that works a lot in solo queue? Something like Talon?
It's called Volibear. Volibear got buffs not long ago, and he is so strong in the jungle right now.
I'd classify him as tank.
Hey man, he does a lot of damage.
He does a lot of magic damage too.
Quite mixed up there, but yeah, he's very strong. I feel like he would have been a better option in this game. Yeah. Some more backline threat to threaten this Karma, threaten this Xayah a little bit more, but fortunately the main threat just only came from Robbo, and fortunately it wasn't enough for Robbo to solo carry.
But it is game 1 of a best of 3, so they have to win on the side of Mentos. They have to win 2 games in a row to promote to the UKEL, or to stay in the UKEL, let's say. And then we have to have 1 more game win for Resolve Academy for them to promote into the UKEL. So it's still all to play for. And if they don't make it in this series, they can play again tomorrow, or they will play again tomorrow for a second chance to make it to the UKEL. So we're going to go to a quick break before we bring you the second game of this best of 3, Mythos versus Resolve Academy. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, to the UKEL promotion tournament. We just saw there Resolve Academy winning the first game versus Mythos. I know most of you out there are Mythos fans, so F's in chat for that one. But Resolve, it's what we were predicted as casters, is what our producer also predicted Resolve. What a lot of channel points for predicting Resolve, not gonna lie. But Rail, are you expecting us to go to game 3? Do you think that they're gonna win? The Mythos are gonna win the second game before we go into draft, and I'll ask you again after draft.
It depends if they're going to hand over Hecarim for free again, because I mean, if you're going to give over Hecarim Karma, it's just going to be Hecarim diff, and it's just going to be jungle diff, and you're not going to have much fun because Hecarim's not going to die. And the most what you're getting out of your invade is a Grump. That's not ideal
Kindred,
when you're picking Kindred. Yeah. That's a big F.
So, okay. Let's say, for example, that they do give over the Hecarim again to Resolve Academy. What do you pick in the jungle role that isn't Kindred to play into the Hecarim? Do you pick Lilia?
Volibear, Skarner, Lilia.
Skarner? Okay.
Yep.
I haven't seen a Skarner in a very long time.
The last time I seen a Skarner, actually, was in here, in UKEL, last time I seen a Skarner, and it won. So, all I'm saying...
True.
Udyr, if it gets through bans, is still a very good option, but I don't think it will get through. I think it's just going to be banned as standard. Just no one wants to play against Udyr, and I'm not surprised.
Oh, I hate playing against Udyr. I love watching Udyr stomp in a professional game, but I hate playing against it. It's just disgusting. And I would love to see the Udyr get through just for the flash bear slap, but no, it's not gonna. It's
the most satisfying thing when you see it coming. You know it's coming. You see him running with a bear stance. You're like, oh no, it's happening. It's happening.
It just reminds me of Azael's tutorial for Udyr, where it's just like, yeah, you just pop your chem tank, run up, slap them in the face.
So something I want to see change, despite Shearder's Gragas working during laning phase, when it got to team fights, it seemed a bit disorganized in terms of Gragas and Orianna being on the same page. Despite and Robbo doing absolute work in that last game, it just wasn't enough. Never really had much follow-up on these Orianna ults, unfortunately. So I want to see the top lane switched up as well. I want to see something completely different from the Gragas. He starts off as a flex pick and then just sort of got shoved towards the top lane. And for me, it just wasn't enough. I feel like he definitely can just fall back onto something a little bit different, a little bit more organized with that team comp.
Yeah, something that's a lot more into the role of tank rather than what we kind of got from Ashita there. Did really well in laning phase, just completely fell flat the rest of the game. But we aren't picking bans, and it's the same first four picks, same first four bans, I should say, with the Olaf, Udyr, Tristana, and Seraphine taken off the board. So nothing too unusual about that. We said that in the first game. Pretty much picture perfect for what we'd expect. And there's the Karma ban.
Not a surprise. The Karma is actually banned. You've seen the shields come through in that last game. You've seen how annoying it was to take down. The Karma just sustained absolutely everyone. Pick the Hecarim. There we go. A lot better.
Much better. And Dunlosi plays a pretty mean Hecarim. You're denying that away from Stonecooker, and he has to pick something else.
Oh.
It's gotta be Lulu Graves. Graves plays decently well into the Hecarim. So I've been told.
I'm mainly spiced up about the Lulu because that
Lulu
could
Twitch,
be...
Lulu Twitch.
You're getting too happy. That could be the Lulu top lane.
Oh god, please no. Please no.
It is very...
It's that the Office meme where it's just like, God no, please no.
It's not fun to play against for sure. Also, Jinx was actually banned last time round, so they're actually going to get the Jinx this time round. Gragas picked again. Not too happy about it this time. Again, I don't like the Gragas pick here. I think you should have just picked the Fresh again because blundering on this Fresh, especially early game, set up about 80% of the kills. I think there was like one he wasn't a part of in the early game. So I think there's no reason you shouldn't have just ran it back with a Fresh here. Instead, they picked the Gragas again, a flex, but I really don't like it being picked up again.
No, especially you're showing that so early as well. So you're like, okay, they could just take their time, pick whatever they wanted of the Gragas. You know it's going into the top lane, unless they're just a five-head Galaxy Brain here, where they're just locking in the Gragas here. It's like, it's actually for blundering. That's why we didn't lock in the Thresh, play that into the Lulu. But still, I feel like the Thresh plays well into the Lulu and into the Xayah, can force away the ultimates from both of them, and then you have the Jinx for the follow-up CC.
See, I feel justified even more. I looked over to chat, and there's already 2 people saying, "Why are you picking Gragas instead of Thresh here?" And I'm just sat here like, "Yeah, I said that."
Yeah,
I
know
agree.
it, I know it.
Not surprised to see Xayah come through again. The Xayah made a big difference into the Gragas. Gragas kind of just got rendered useless by the Xayah later in the game, and I just see that being the case again. I just see there's better options on the table, unfortunately. Rail Fresh both banned away as well. Nautilus also banned away in this game, so support pool's been pinched a little bit, but there's still some decent picks on the table.
Yeah, there definitely is, especially if you want to go towards something more enchantery sort of style supports, which I'm not really expecting at this stage, since both these teams have shown a prevalence, or a preference, I should say, for sort of tankier supports, like that Thresh, like that Nautilus, like the Rel, that's obviously been taken off the board as well, away from blundering into FGG, and they lock in a Veigar mid. Let's go.
I'm just really checking real fast just to make sure it's not a fill.
I'm expecting it to be legit. Expecting it to be legit.
We do have a Veigar, which is just a little bit more of an annoyance of CC there. Obviously, you have to play around that cage, and with Graves being such short range, that makes his life a little bit harder, especially in this game. Trying to go forward is going to be a lot more difficult, and also Braum came off some pretty big buffs coming through to this patch. So Braum Jinx, also have Hecarim. There's quite a lot of CC to get around to even get towards this Jinx. Just seems like they're playing a better front to back this time round, a bit more organized. This time the Gragas actually does fit a little bit better into this comp. So looks like they have their plan in mind.
Okay, I was gonna talk about the Braum changes and how well it plays with a Jinx, but FGG just locked in Bard. That's a Lulu mid.
That's a Lulu mid?
I haven't seen a Bard in a long time because no one knows how to play it properly.
You ban one support, they're taking the other, but yeah, they do have a Bard. It's with a Xayah. Usually I like a support that can sort of step forward with Xayah, so it's going to be interesting to see this bot lane, especially with Jinx Braum being actually a very good combo. I'm really interested to see how this bard's going to play, because he really needs to play counter engage, or he needs to be the first initial pick, because in terms of engage from Resolve, there's no clear-cut engage. It's not going to be easy for them to get forward, especially with a Veigar, especially with a Braum. Even a Gragas to add to that, there's so much disengage to say you aren't walking forward.
And that's one of the things that we liked about their draft in the last game. There was that engage, there was that front line, and now it's up to kind of a hop from Madison Beer, just kind of jump in with the Mega Gnar, hopefully, and be that front line, and then you have Stonecooker who wants to dash in with the True Grid and just try and soak up the damage. You have Otter there on a supportive mid laner, yes, you do. You can build towards that Moonstaff of Flowing Water build, but I don't think it's as good as the last game, and then you don't have that front line of your support.
Yeah, it's not as consistent as the Karma for sure, and I feel like Mythos definitely could turn a bit more attention towards the top side this time around, because she just shown that he could solo kill Madison Beer Fan, and showing that top was a little bit more exploitable than people expected, especially with this matchup just being so even for most of the game. Definitely could pay a little bit of attention towards there, snowball the Gragas, and then just move together as a gank squad. And pretty much just means that no one's going to be safe at that point.
And you want Mythos to get ahead in this game. You want to go to a third game, especially if you are a Mythos fan, and they have the tools to do it. You have the infinite scaling of that little Veigar in the middle lane, and he has that primordial burst just to one-tap someone, and I've expected that to be the Lulu that's been one-tapped, or maybe even the Bard, because, you know, they're both super squishy kind of enchanter-style supports. And then you have the Braum Jinx in the bottom lane. Braum, as you said earlier on, did get buffed on this patch. Is Unbreakable, is on a shorter cooldown from level 3, I think, or the third level of it. And then the knock-up duration for the Glacial Fissure is also a little bit longer from the second and third levels. So it is much better on this patch than it was before, and it was a pretty standard pick, pretty good pick. before this patch.
Yeah. I like Mythos draft better in this game. I think they outdrafted Resolve in this time around, but Resolve did pull out an interesting strat with the Lulu here, so interested to see how the Lulu bod pay off. But I am leaning towards Mythos with this draft. If they can organize themselves in team fights a little bit better than game one, they definitely could come out stronger, because there was some fights they should have won in game one. There was some fights what they definitely should have taken, but they were just so unorganized in team fights. If they can just reorganize themselves, play that front to back, play through that Jinx, just put Jinx as the win condition, that is your win strat.
And they have the front line for it this time. They have Ishida, hopefully, going full tank. You have the Braum. You have a Hecarim instead of the Kindred in the last game. So you have all the tools there available, waiting, ready to be used for the side of Mythos. It feels easier to execute on the side of Mythos this time than it actually does on the side of Resolve Academy. So I'm expecting us to go to game 3 here. I'm expecting a Mythos win. Are you expecting the same?
Yeah, I'd love a game 3, so I want Mythos to win this one just so we can get to that game 3. Like I said, I like Mythos draft better. His execution's also there as well, exactly what we talked about with game 1, just his execution. In terms of Resolve Engage, like we spoke about, it's just so I'm running at you, or I need to get a TP flank. Even then,